because of the wonderful co-hosts we have. I'm so honored today to have Christy with us. You know her because she's been there for a lot of other people. And, Christy's definitely somebody that you should check out as far as her profile. And if you see alignment, reach out and connect, because that's one of the benefits of the show is networking, interacting. And the whole show is driven by chat, or hopefully driven by chat. So, whoever wants to start the process, go right ahead. At this point, I want to introduce Christy, have her tell you a little bit about herself and how she sees the show, and in relationship to all of her vast experience. Christy, happy to introduce you.
Well, thank you. So who am I? I live in Florida, the Gulf Coast. I just started my own business a few years ago, but left corporate recently. I do resume reviews, LinkedIn rewrites, and I also do confidence coaching. That's pretty much my main thing, is getting outside of your head. The mental health is very important to me. And so what I love about this show is that it's like sitting in your living room. I've met so many great people, and the conversations and learning from them. I mean, once you connect with them, you go over in their profile, you see their posts, and you learn from them. And LinkedIn's my college. I didn't graduate from college, and LinkedIn, I've been here since 2008, and I've continuously to learn through it, through the people, because everybody's smarter than I am. So.
I don't know about that. So what has the show done for you?
It's made me not only learn, but with Kelly, who you've heard that Kelly and I have known each other for 15 years, we are both about our awesome journey, the good, the bad, and the truly crappy, because that's life, and about champion people. And right now we're in a place that people are struggling, before it was COVID, and, but now it's the job seekers. And a lot of these people have never had to interview for years. And then they have, well, I'm too old, or I don't, know things. And it's just trying to champion them to understand that let's get outside of the box. Let's understand how your health is, and look at things differently, and be strategic about it. You can throw in lots of resumes against that wall, and something might stick, unfortunately. And it's sad, but it goes both ways, especially in sales. I mean, you get ghosted by salespeople, you get ghosted by recruiters and HR people. I'm a true believer. You treat people every way the way you want to be treated. I mean, my father he ended up leaving DuPont after 36 years. And he always said, you treat the janitor, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what somebody does, but you treat them with respect. So these people who are looking for, job seeking, just treat them with kindness, because kindness is free. It's not that hard. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. Have empathy.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's so true and universal and kind of evergreen. And, I love the kindness approach, because, the new tagline for the group is building bigger, better, and kinder together, right? With a lot of emphasis on the kinder more than the building better and bigger. Now we've got quite a few people. Carolyn's on the line today. Good morning. I love
from
Christy.
Texas.
Known her for several years. When we worked together, she's a powerhouse. Well, there's nothing like third-party validation and confirmation. Alex is here from Texas.
Yep.
Let me see who else.
Not our Texas people.
We got somebody who says hi back. We've got a gentleman from Turkey and sharing that there's
I hope you're safe. I hope you're safe. Prayers to you.
Too. It's quite a disaster for sure. Great. Hello from Pakistan. So, again,
we got
this
all over the world.
Has no boundaries. Love is always love, and kindness translates really well in any language. And it's really taking that first step, change the world by changing yourself first, and then help somebody else with the change. And this is what this group is all about, is supporting each other, because it's worth doing. But more importantly, LinkedIn rewards collaboration, teamwork, synchronizing things together. Christopher's here. Greetings from Philadelphia. Well, I know who you're rooting for today in the Super Bowl, so no question about that. Trevor's here from Pacific Northwest. Trevor's a great guy. Actually had a lot to do with this show, because it was his show that Tara went on and shared my profile with the group. And through that, I met Gretchen, I met Tara, I met Tara, and I met Jenny. And they have been 3 huge supporters. And really everything about the show is because it's a blend of everybody who's contributed to it. You know, if it was just me, I'm not big enough and I couldn't do enough, and I'm not smart enough to know what other people already know. So why not bring those people to the table? What do you have to say, Christy?
Well, what I've seen years ago, I used to do a lot of nonprofit fundraising. So my Facebook was very open. So I connected with a lot of people, got donations, was successful with that. But LinkedIn has always been business-wise. Yes, we get our, and now it's a lot more people are sharing personal stuff because it's heartfelt. They want, we want to be heartfelt. And what's great about this, platform is people are, as I said, we're in business, we're doing business, we're heartfelt, but you're able to talk to people that you might not be able to talk to your family or your friends that aren't in business. I mean, a lot of my friends, my girlfriends don't work. They're, they have their kids, they don't it's not like they don't understand. It's not that they're not really interested in, corporate world. And so this venue allows you to be introduced to people. And again, all over the world. I mean, I have a client from South Africa, but I've been fortunate that I worked in an international company with Carolyn that I got to know everybody. So when I used to do events at the company, it was sort of a joke because I'd have my phone and I'd be like, oh, you're on LinkedIn. They're like, she's going to connect with you. She's going to connect with you, because my attitude is you never know whom somebody knows that needs to know you, or vice versa. In sales, personal, business, whatever it is, it's networking. And people, the old school networking, it was just giving business cards. Okay, now we're going to go have a happy hour. Here, this is a little bit more in depth. And again, it goes back to it's heartfelt. People actually want to get to know you. They want to say, how can I help you? I don't need anything back, but how can I help you?
Well, someone has to start, right? So being the first to go is probably the best to go, because you're not waiting on anybody and you keep going. And I think the other key is there is such a huge need for shared empathetic support, right? People just want to know they're okay because other people believe they're okay, not just saying it to placate them. And the other thing is you will get taken care of when you create enough value for enough people. And until you've built that, let's say, log pile high enough, you still have work to do. The nice thing is if you build long term, it lasts longer, right? And it stays longer with the people you want to be with. And, Christy shared before the show that she's met people that she would have never met without being on a show like this, because it's really attracting the kind of people that the message relates to. See, we start with the message, people hear it, it resonates, they want to get closer to it, because it's typically the opposite message that's seen on LinkedIn, which is scammy, spammy, disrespectful. And, you almost got to put your raincoat on every day just to keep yourself away from all this. But when you can steal off to an island in the sun, right, and really qualify the people who come on, because,
it's the quality. You have a quality, you have an eclectic quality group of people that come on. And every time you do it, you always bring in new people, and then they get on and they're like, okay, I like this. It's not selling. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah. And it's the best form of referral, because what I'm seeing is everybody's bringing their best friend first, right? They're not bringing a stranger or a needy person that might need help, and they need help. But the point is they want to have the company of the people who are already best friends. So when friends bring best friends, the group gets stronger because it more duplicates those people. And actually, just like people get turned off by all that spammy stuff, this is so rare when they hear it, they've been waiting for it. A lot of people gave up on it because here's one of the big things I learned about LinkedIn. It's all about time efficiency. And if you've got a general message that goes out to the general population, you're going to be filtering for so long or responding to people that aren't relevant to you or you relevant to them, versus if you just get 50, 60 people who share something with people. Those 50 are the 50 you'd have to look for out of 500. So you have to be more selective where you go, who you go with, what you do. And this is a platform for that. Let me just recognize a lot of people here. Alex says, yeah, awesome life journey. Okay, let's keep going. Christopher, greetings. We went through that. Coming down. Paul is here. Paul was instrumental yesterday, and I sent Paul a nice response in comments yesterday. Is almost everything that could go wrong went wrong. The co-host couldn't get video going, and he was willing to go. I said, no, you project so well and people should see you. So he's coming back next week. Then the link to getting on Restream wasn't working that well. And Kelly came to the rescue and shared the link with Paul. And Paul ended up being the co-host for about 40 minutes after that. Turned out to be a tremendous show. The response was incredible. So, and I mentioned to Paul, I said, we just made lemonade out of lemons. How great is that? And plus, everything here is learning. This is a work in progress. And everybody should be as thoughtful to everybody else's challenges as anybody else. Kelly's here.
Of course she is.
Let me just share Paul real quick. Hey, Don Christy, happy Super Bowl Sunday. Happy Super Bowl Sunday to you. Kelly says, love seeing your faces. Happy Sunday, y'all. And the thing is some people actually play a bigger role than they know because of who they are. And they don't have to try, right? They bring their real self to the table.
Well, how Kelly has shared, we both have shared, we met through LinkedIn. I mean, I used to live in Arizona, so we networked a lot. 5 times we've been around each other, but we've known each other for 15 years. But there'll be like times where we're always helping each other. Sometimes a lot stronger, but it's like we're always in each other's lives. And, going back to what happened yesterday, and we know when I was on the first time, I had technical issues. Unfortunately, technical issues happen, but I'm a true believer you can take any negative and turn it into a positive. It's the mindset. It's just saying, okay, this isn't working, but let's flip it around. Let's just make it the lemonade, or a margarita, if that's what your, favor.
Well, and here's the thing: you either learn or earn. If you look
Absolutely.
at it like that, right? So when something that happens, I say, well, what am I going to learn from here? And I did learn something. And what I learned is having comments already with the link in it, ready to go, and actually, being able to have one more, let's say, redundant element that can back it up. So love seeing you, Kelly. You're the greatest. Alex, met my best friend Oliver from Netherlands here on LinkedIn. Like I say, there is no boundaries to goodness and kindness. LinkedIn, excellent professional platform for sharing valuable views, for sure. Good by association. This show, that's awesome. Last minute sub. Yeah, I mean, this is just a stage, right? And everybody should stand on it. I'm a big believer that whoever supports something should play in something.
So what was that when I think it was just Alex that just
here.
sorry.
Okay. Good morning from Boston. I'll be writing a paper all day. My husband is doing a double shift as a nurse, hoping to set up play dates for the kids. Decision to go back to school is an adjustment for everyone, not just me. Well, Christine is a prime example of someone balancing so many balls in the air and being so
passionate. She's very passionate about life
and graceful about it. You know, I mean, it's almost like a dance. You know, it flows so easily. Thank you, Christine. Christine's coming on next week. I've been encouraging her, and finally something at work kind of prompted her to feel this could be the thing. And I think as more and more people see everybody coming on, it's just a conversation. The only difference is instead of being on the sidebar with a comment, you're here in person with yourself, and people can see you, and that makes a difference. I'm learning to just remove expectations. Life seems to be more fun that way.
Well, when we have Paul, when we have expectations, we're in our heads. We're looking at the outcome. We don't know what the outcome is. We don't know how the people are going to, react or whatever. So then we have the expectation of something's going to happen. When we get out of the head, remove the expectations, it's a surprise of life.
Yeah, it's so true. And, just thinking, there's a lot of people that will probably try to copy and duplicate. And I'm so in support of that, because to do better, people have to find better ways to be kinder, right? Because this is not something, a format. It's got nothing to do with it. It's really encouraging people to share what's really inside of them that they need to share, right? It's not just coming up with the best story or the biggest tragedy. It's really just being able to be yourself. And there's so many people, like Christy has said, who work in toxic workplaces, who have to go out of their way not to be themselves. They have to guard themselves from being true to themselves, because it's not something people want to see. And that's why you got to get back to yourself first, and then you got to reach out to other people next, and they will help you in ways that you thought you were helping them, because, they say be known before you're needed. This is a time to get out there, and most people just get their profiles out there. You need your voice heard. You need yourself seen, because people want to know, is this a person I want to dedicate time to? Right. And where you start with someone never is typically where you end. And to Paul's point, why prognosticate the future? It's going to happen when it happens. And what you do is you miss out on the now. And I can say one thing for LinkedIn Live: everybody here is sharing the same now together. Everybody's exactly in the same second as time moves forward. And you can't beat that. What do you think?
Well, also when you're helping other people, you're helping yourself, because you're learning from their experiences as well. And so then you can share that with other people. I mean, yeah, at 61, I've done a lot in my lifetime. I mean, I didn't get married until I was 59. So I've lived all over the country and done a lot. So when I share my life experiences, it's so somebody else can understand, one, they're not the only person that's gone through it, but also see a different way that I didn't know why I was going through it. But then after I got through it, to say, oh, and now I understand, here's different ways I could have done this. And it's sharing the experiences with empathy and having the active listening to understanding. And it goes back to, right now, people's mental health should be the most important thing. I mean, it's just people are still isolated, and they're and then looking for jobs or being in toxic companies, and they're just stuck, and just help. But as I keep on saying, your platform and other platforms that have come out of this platform, and Kelly and I are going to be starting one, it's champion the people, making them know that they're good people and they have so much to give to the world.
That's so true. And most people forget that. Most people are starting to live other people's expectations instead of their own. I mean, Kelly makes a great point. The degree of disappointment is dependent on the distance between our expectation and reality. And, you are the final judge of you. you can forgive yourself immediately after something happens. You could find ways to make yourself happier. And what happens is done. It's like unringing a bell later on. How long and what do you want to put on it and carry it forward as something into the future? What they say, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how fast you get up. Yep. And that's the important thing, because you're going to get knocked down, you're going to trip, it happens. That's life. That's just the way it is. But how much you're your best friend when at the end of the day, no matter who you're with, you come home to yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And that time with yourself is a time you look at the day. And that's why I start my day with gratitude and I end my day with gratitude, to put it in nice bookends. What did I learn today that it's going to make me better? Who did I meet? Take inventory. If you went shopping, you got to unpack the bags and put it away somewhere. It's the same thing. Every day you're out in the marketplace, hearing, learning, sharing, being around people. And if you can avoid the negative, you can accentuate the positive. And I think that's so key. We got Poonam here from India, great attorney out there. Hi, Alex. Great. Everybody's starting to know each other. And you know what I'm saying to everybody who's got shows is work with people the right way who have shows. Add value. I mean, if you keep adding value instead of being needy, no one really is responsible for anybody else before they got to know them, right? So if you got $100 million, you get the same recognition as someone who's got a penny, right? Because everybody as a person is equal, and everybody's got a heart, and everybody's got a soul. So Christine goes on, yes, I agree. Seeing other people seem accessible, and just like me, doing the show gives me more confidence to try it. There's an immediate ROI since you get to practice public speaking on this platform and public empathy. That's the key. Poonam is always out saying hello to everybody. I'm looking for that third career. I'm near retirement, but have so much more to offer, but I have limited what I'll do and not do. Sometimes that feels freeing, but sometimes it traps me. Well, I'll tell you, Caroline, you and me are in the same boat, because I had tremendous success, but rode two humongous waves for years, along with Walmart.com and Amazon, and before that in my own specialty national retail chain. And when I left there, I left with everything I learned and experienced. And since then, I've gotten better through LinkedIn, and I feel I'm more relevant, more active and ready to go. I mean, I've done 1,000 days of posting in a row. I've done 7 months, 7 days a week of LinkedIn Live. Why? Because if I did it once a week, it would take me 7 times longer and it wouldn't be that effective. To me,
Carolyn and we've had numerous conversations, and the other day she called me. She's like, I'm about to go into a meeting, but I want to get on this on your LinkedIn Live. So I was trying to explain to her, she was having some computer issues, but she was never one that really worked LinkedIn. And a lot of people don't, because they have a job. But even while you're having a job, you're still learning from people. And so I believe that she's working it the way we've talked about it, and she's here on a Sunday. And she wants to learn and see who she can connect with and what she can bring to their table. And that's what makes me happy, of the conversations that I have with friends, new friends, strangers, of understanding the strength of LinkedIn. And something like this. We're not selling, we're not sitting here, we're having a conversation. A lot of LinkedIn Lives are about what they're selling. And those get boring. If you want that, I mean, go watch TV.
Yeah, you're so right, Christy. And it's because it's so obvious when people are selling, and that's probably right up there with being needy, right? If you come across weak and helpless and, you're not inspiring anybody to want to reach out, right? And that's the way it is. And if you're selling, it's cheapening everything. You wouldn't go to someone's barbecue and bring your food truck, and say it's on the street, right? What you want to do is support and promote the people you can, right? And anybody who comments on someone's post, anybody appears on someone's LinkedIn Live, if they validate the person, it validates everything for the audience. If the host validates the co-host and promotes them, that encourages people. And if the co-host and the host support and recognize the audience, and the audience, everything I've done is bottom up. Start with the customer, start with the client, start with the audience, give them all the value, right? Because they drive everything. Then your employees or strategic partners or whatever advisors, they're the most important. The person who starts it is the first to pay and the last to get paid, right? Because they can handle it. One person can handle themselves. An audience can't always. But to Caroline's point, which I think is important, I never thought I'd get my third wave. You know, I never did. But here's the thing. A lot of people are looking for love in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
You know, they're going back to what isn't there anymore, right? It doesn't work anymore. And you're competing. 80% of people on LinkedIn are between 18 and 34. When you're talking as you, they're not hearing you. And that's why if you look, I guarantee you take a cross section of who's on the audience, it's 50 and above.
Absolutely.
And they make a small part. Why? Because there's not enough places for people. And because it's 80% doesn't mean that 20% doesn't want to play. They're just not aware of this. They're not aware of how to play. But LinkedIn Live can give somebody like Caroline and a lot of other people a stage where they elevate beyond the mob of 875 million people trying to be something they're not. Or it's just so, if you've been in business, and that's what I do think, people who have a business background have an advantage because they understand protocol. Right? They understand how to greet somebody. If you're old school, you're relationship based. Everything I did, I had to go out of my office. I had to go to a conference, a trade show, fly to somebody's place. I mean, that was the only way things got done. Here, you can reach everybody without a plane. You can reach hundreds of people. 500 people will view this today. And 500 people who relate to this. It's not just a sports score, you know? And when you see that every day, times 7 times the host, I mean, it's just the numbers start to put everything in your favor, you know, and that's what everybody should have as an advantage instead of a disadvantage.
I saw a alert or a news alert that they were saying that like 8 million people were going to call out of work tomorrow because of the Super Bowl. And I'm thinking to myself, but everybody works from home. It's like, how are you doing that? You know, we're here. You're able to, you know, communicate online, have the video chats. Trevor's, you know, comment about, you know, about selling. When I was in B2B sales, it was a fluke. I don't like being sold. I hate being sold. I mean, I've been in retail, I've been in sales. I market, you know, it's about marketing you, but maybe making it where you're so marketable that they want this, they need this. People want to be on your, you know, here listening to these conversations. You're not selling anything, but they want to get to know you. They want to know what's missing out of their life. And that, to me, you turn it around and say, hey, here's everything. And then you've got them over to the side going, they're like, okay, well, what can I buy from you? You know, let them say, how can I make this better in my life? And then there's your sale.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I think there's too much that's assumed and presumed. And I don't want to sell anybody I don't know in the first place. That's right. The thing. So it's a person who didn't show any indication they wanted to buy now gets presented with a sale offer, which is a mismatch. And the person who's selling is not learning from their customers or potential customers. And the other thing is, you know, I'll just share this. Happy Sunday. Ambimbola has been wonderful. She's been here every day since Jamie Edwards has been here. And then Trevor, who has a show, I have a take on shows that sell, and he has a show called 344. And there's nothing wrong with a show that sells, but it should be clear that's what it's for,
Correct.
right? And at that point, you'll get people who are sellers and you'll get people who are potential buyers, and that's a good matchup. But when you go on to a love show or a kindness show,
Right.
and you say, I've got this, I've got this, I've got that, first of all, it's like going to Kentucky Fried Chicken or ordering Chinese food, right? It doesn't fit. And the key, what I tell everybody who comes on here and wants to sell something, you've got a list of everybody here who's here, right? The easy thing is when the show's over, contact them with your sales offer, right? If that's what you want.
That's why Trevor show's good for, especially for people to learn about selling, to learn the right way to have that conversation, to build, selling is about building the relationship. As I said, when I did the B2B sales, I mean, I literally was knocking on people's doors, but I wanted to know who they were before I even, they knew why I was there. I was selling electricity in Dallas, but I wanted to get to know them. I wasn't there to rip them off. And and that's probably why I don't have those multi-million dollars, when I've been in business. I give my services away because of the relation. I want the relationship first. I want to help them to be a better person in whatever they need.
Yeah, well,
that's why I'm not a good salesperson.
No, and I think that's great. And I think Trevor is a great guy. He's got a great show. And when you bring more than the sales, like you do, like you said, when you teach people how to sell, it's a different platform when it's just an infomercial, right? To Dean's point, yes, Johnny Lee was from Urban Cowboy, looking for love in all the wrong places. So, cool that it resonates. You see, that's the thing. You say one thing, it touches somebody, brings back a memory. You multiply that by 50. Maybe someone learned a quote today. Maybe someone met a person today. Maybe someone questioned themselves about something that they should have questioned themselves earlier. It's all little things done right over time that compound. Here we go with Alex is love conferences. Caroline, well put and good reason why and how to use LinkedIn. Thank you for the insight, because some people don't see themselves the way they show up, and if you really look at it like, am I bringing real value today? Why? Because if people recognize that, first of all, they'll reach out for me and see me more often, but they'll know me for my intent. I'm always telling people, build your intangible balance sheet up, the things you don't see on a financial, right? Okay. Build your honesty, your integrity, your trust. Trust is the hardest thing to gain and easiest thing to lose, and what you want to do is show that you're trustworthy, because no one's going to share nothing with you, tell you anything if they're not trusting of you to be confidential about it or thoughtful or sympathetic. Ambimbola says a number of times you fall is insignificant, but refusing to stay down, getting up and pressing forward is what matters. Absolutely, because there's no reason not to. This is a race, right? If you fall down, get up and start running again, and the more you do that, the less you'll feel you fell down. You can visualize that as a pause. It doesn't have to be a negative. You are the ones who put the labels on yourself and everything. Start changing labels. Get some superlatives.
When we fall down and we get up, we can always look back and go, look how much I've grown from when I fell down and what I learned. And now I'm a better person. And now I'm going faster. And now I'm learning more. So each time, and I call it the rabbit hole, the dark rabbit hole, that when you fall in that dark rabbit hole, you're trying, you're cleaning yourself out. But once you've gotten out, you see your strength and you see who you were when you fell in that rabbit hole, and you're not that person anymore. Mm-hmm. You're now a stronger, better person with yourself. And I'm old school, and we were not taught to per se love ourselves, because that was selfish. But we have to be selfless. We have to fly. First, love yourself before you can share really everything. Because if you don't, know yourself, and we're still learning, I'm still learning, but you can be empathetic of somebody else's struggle because we all go through struggles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, to the point of falling down, when people fall down, some people look back at what they were when they were standing. Other people, when they fall down, look forward to now getting up. Right. So, the thing is, don't take legacy and drag it into the future with you. Don't pay twice for something that was a tough situation. And like I say, you can't unring a bell. You can't change the past. You can learn from it. You can grow from it, or you can just forgive yourself, accept responsibility, be accountable, and then give yourself parole, and get back in the game. And the game is always between you and yourself, and the better you are to yourself, the happier you're going to be, the healthier you're going to be. During my worst moments in life, I would resort to, well, you got a place to stay tonight and you got food tonight. And tomorrow it's going to have to take care of itself, right? But right now you're okay. And every day, if you go in it, and sometimes you just got to get through to lunch, I mean, I've known so many people who are just ready to quit, turn the lights off for the last time in their warehouse or store or office. And if someone was there and they didn't give up on doing it, they gave up on themselves because they got frustrated. So, to Christy's point, it's a mindset, it's an opportunity to reach out for somebody. And the thing we promote here the most is that if you can't do it, maybe we can do it together, right? So you don't have to always be everything to everybody. What do you think, Christy?
Well, it also goes back to the AA Serenity Prayer. I had to look it up because I don't know it, but I know of it. And it just says, to accept things that we can't change, and just keep on going forward. Take one day at a time. There's the expectations. Get rid of those expectations of what tomorrow is going to bring to you, because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring to you. I had many years ago, I went through the Forum Leadership. I think it's still around, but I learned that you put the past in the past, the present, now that present's already gone, and the future's open for you. So you just continue to go forward and understand that your life is full of so much possibilities. And yeah, sometimes it's going to be rough, but when you get knocked down, because you love yourself and you know what you're made of, you can bring yourself up. Absolutely. Or reach out to people that support you.
Well, that's so key, because it's not what you're into, it's who you're with that makes all the difference.
Right.
And there's been a study, and 70% of the people who sell their business on Friday or retire by Monday are depressed or have seller's remorse, right? And here's why. They got the check, but they just lost their second family. In my business, I had people I work with for 25, 30 years. I seen them, buy houses, get married, share all those moments. And then one day you're gone and they're gone, right? And that made everything worthwhile and gets people through it. Alex says the key is listen first and talk about what you have in common. Well, Alex, I think that's so true. And like I mentioned in other episodes, it's really important to practice the platinum rule. Everybody knows the golden rule is do unto others as you want done unto yourself, but the platinum rule is do unto others as they want done unto themselves, right? Don't assume what you feel can make someone happy. Why not ask? I mean, when you go in a restaurant, they don't tell you what you're going to eat. You order what you feel like eating, and they serve you, hopefully. Here we got Trevor. We follow 7 questions, pretty smooth and fun, fast 16 minutes. It helps guests develop a clear message. Again, that's a lot to do with strategy. That's a lot to do with that. And, that's why it's great to have shows that distinguish and differentiate themselves from other shows. But, certain shows, again, attract certain people, right, who are motivated. I've been in sales all my life. I've been in every form of sale, direct sales, mail order sales, online sales, B2B sales. I mean, I've generated in my own companies $500 million worth of sales. And that's still a lot of money, especially when you go back to the 80s when a dollar meant a lot. And everything I knew about sales kind of went out the window when I started to really work with people, because I used to know so many sales reps would come in and they'd always have a better deal. I can beat the price by 5 or 10%, and they understand the sales rep or the national sales manager I've been working with for 15 years, right? That means something. Not everybody should or can be bought. And that's what I feel sorry for a lot of people on the job market. It's like, give me the money, I'll do whatever you want. I'll be whatever you want. And eventually a piece of your soul disappears every so often. And when you get all that negative stuff, you have no choice but to get affected by it. And if you get all this positive stuff from so many people who are here every day, right? If you can just rest up and come back in 23 hours, you're going to get more of this, right? And to Kelly's point and to Christy's point, everybody's starting to get their own shows, right? You should visit shows, learn shows, be on shows, get your own show. If it's good for one, it's good for all. And I believe a rising tide lifts all ships, right? And the better everybody does, the better they're going to be at bringing that to a show like this. And one last thing I'll say about sales, the more sophisticated the customer, the better the experience, right? When they knew as much or more than you did, you didn't have to explain anything. You didn't have to have them trust anything, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to keep people down. You want to raise people up. Like I mentioned, the person who wants the biggest skyscraper in town could do it two ways: knock every building down around them, or build just bigger and better than everybody else and challenge people to follow. I mean, we're talking 875 million people. Most people, if they got 3 new clients in a month, they'd be dancing in the streets.
Yep.
Look for abundance and taking advantage of it. And the thing is, nobody should have to explain anything to anybody that they don't feel like, right? And too many people are at the whim of other people they don't even know, and it gets affecting. In an airplane, when the master routes put you, it caused, I mentioned that yesterday. It's kind of funny. Me and Dean now share a song and a story about airplanes. And that's so important. Without health, there is no wealth. Let me just say that. Or freedom. Yes, I wasn't taught to love myself. My parents were tough on me. They were upset with me as a child because I was shy. They thought that was selfish. I couldn't have any self-pity. It's a balance. In some ways it hurts. In some ways it helps. Really, I've been through so much adversity. This program isn't big enough to share it. I've been through so much success. But one thing I learned about significant adversity, it either overcomes you or you overcome it, right? There's no time for middle ground or minimization. And it's all how you take it. What do you think, Christy?
Well, Christine grabbed something on me, because I've learned that, and I don't have children, but my mom, I have 2 nieces, and my mom was exactly like her mom. That's a generation thing. You learn from each generation. And my sister is completely different than my mom, how she is with her 2 daughters, because I call it that she cut the contract of being what she learned. I was brought up of, Christy, don't cry. You can't get upset. So my emotions, I wasn't allowed to show my emotions. And because of that, I battled depression on and off in my life, because I was told not to show my emotions. However, because of that, I went onto that journey and to try to say, wait a minute, this is not how I want to be. And I did my own, I did the work, I did all that stuff. And as Christine says, it hurts because, these are our parents. However, it helped because she was able to change the script of how she is with her kids. I'm able to change the script of how I am with myself and my empathy for other people. Now, is it easy for me to cry? No, but when I do, I don't feel bad about it. So it's all about understanding, going back that generations were taught certain ways and they didn't know any better. Yet we're coming in, and each generation has the power and the purpose to be a better person for the next generation with the empathy and the learning and the experiences. And I like Dean did the serenity prayer. I appreciate that, Dean.
Yeah, here's Dean. Yeah, that is so a wonderful prayer, and people shouldn't be afraid to share their beliefs in a way that doesn't impose on anybody, isn't there for any other reason but to uplift someone, right? I believe, like I say, everybody as a person is equal, right? No one is better or worse than anybody else. And at the end of the day, none of us get out of here alive anyways.
And we all bleed red.
Yeah.
We all bleed the same color.
Yeah. So knowing that, and that is true. It's not a philosophy. It's not an opinion. Go back to basics. During some of the worst times, I had to tell myself the only thing you got to focus on is breathing, right? I mean, that's all you got to do right now is just focus on breathing, because there's times when, you don't know what things like depression are until you're into it, right? And
Absolutely.
sometimes you find, I never thought there was a place like this. And not only this, it just got worse. I thought I was in the basement. I just dropped another 2 floors.
Yep.
Right. And waking up was the hardest part of the day because you're part of that reality again. It takes you a few seconds. But, again, one day at a time, one meal at a time, and going out and getting people to support and being around you. Christy?
What's great? What's great about LinkedIn now? And again, it goes back to the mental health. People are showing their vulnerability because people always thought vulnerability was a weakness. It's a strength. And people are showing their vulnerability of saying, I'm looking for a job. I just got laid off. I have a mortgage. I have children. I've been looking for 6 months. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to change, or go. And for the fact that there are people out there, and unfortunately there's the scammers out there, and there's the people that are going to, take and take and take, but there's and this platform, and I've seen on their posts, they're all about here to help you because they're experienced. They've been there. No one can say, I've never gone through depression. I mean, we all have, even if it's just a little bit, because that's ebb and flow of life. You're going to go up and down. But if we're here to help people and take that one day at a time and understand that you're here to listen to them, you're not going to tell them how to live their life, but you can share their story and understand that they're not by themselves and champion them. I on my website, on my LinkedIn profile, I'm about a cheerleader. I got that was the 70s and we were there, but I'm a cheerleader. I love champion people because I want people to see the greatness in themselves because we're all great.
Yeah, I mean, there's greatness in everybody, and everybody needs somebody at times to help them bring it up, help them develop it. But where's the fire? Why not get with the right people doing the right things and do it together? Too many people are competitive. Like, I'm going to give 60 and only get 40. No, I'll just cut my nose to spite my face and do nothing. Right? Who's zooming who at that point? We've got Just Breathe.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Just Breathe.
breath work is so important. My wife's been teaching yoga for 32 years, and, when you get people who are peaceful, contemplative, slow things down. Where is everybody running? Because in most cases, people can fast forward and know where things are going. Catch yourself in the moment and say, I know where this conversation is going to go if I keep it up. And do I want that? And sometimes you got to be the better person. Sometimes you got to gulp, and just do it to get things moving, or take responsibility when nobody else will and move forward. Kelly says you're a champion for people, Christy. That's real success. That's real earning. When people talk about money, like I say, most people who think money is the answer have never had any or never had enough. And when they get it, either, and I always say, good people get better with money, bad people get worse with money.
And money can always disappear. You can be a millionaire.
It has in so many ways. And I can tell you, I learned so much more on the way down than I ever learned on the way up. You get so humbled. You get so modest. You get so grateful for the little things in life you take for granted. Just walk, see a tree, see a bird, look at the sky. There's beauty everywhere. And what someone focus on? Well, I get a 10% raise this year or 5%. And here's another thing I know, because the older you get, the wiser you get, and it's so much easier to look backwards than it is to look forwards, is so many people take so much time to worry about money, and they run out of time before they run out of money, right? And they could have been spending that time. I remember my mother, she worked so hard. And at the end, I told her, I want, me and my sister, I said, I want you to spend everything you got on yourself, right? Whatever you think of, it's yours. You work so hard. We don't really need it anyways. And you give permission to people for things that, they didn't realize. And just Kelly's statement, that's huge. You can't put a price on friendship. You can't put a price, and that's sincere. So that's third-party validation. And the other day, someone complimented. I think it was Christine. Complimented someone, and that became the topic for about 10 minutes. And the goal at the end of the session was take today and compliment one person and tell us how it went. Right? How many times you walk by somebody and they start looking down at the ground before they get to you, because they just want to make sure you're not going to make eye contact with them. And, everybody I see, I say good morning. I walk in the park, all the time, and everybody say good morning. Have a happy day. Takes nothing. It makes me feel better. And a lot of people are shocked. A lot of people respond. A lot of people don't, but it doesn't matter. Because what's good for others is good for you if you can help those others. And the money will come. You do the right thing, the money will follow it. You do things for money. I don't know where it ends up. Ain't seen a U-Haul behind a hearse yet. You're right. Everybody comes into this world with nothing. The worst you can do is break even, right? So, there is no losing. It's a blessing just to be alive for another day. When I wake up, no one guaranteed me this day. It's like, hey, I got another chance to play on the roller coaster of life. How much fun can I have? And fun can be just, I recognized something the other day. I won't go into it, but it was like so cool. I'd never seen it before. Manuel's here. Happy Sunday. Greetings from Monterrey, Mexico. Mexico, Pakistan, India, Netherlands. There's no end to it. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. We're just in first gear here.
I'm looking for a Florence, Italy right there, because that's my Florence, Italy. I love traveling. My office is all pictures of Spain, Italy, all over the world. And it's like, I love meeting people from different states, different countries, because they bring so much knowledge because of their I don't want to say thinking, but how their life is different than ours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like using the word belief system either, because that's, to me, that's a box of BS. But just I love learning from people. I mean, that's why I liked working for the international company I worked for, because I dealt with people from all over the world. And, you know, it was just learning. Alex, my husband, speaks Russian. He speaks 6 languages.
Well,
So, and I want to go to Russia one day because they have good
one
caviar.
thing that you mentioned is when people can be either frustrating or fascinating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what you're looking for. And a lot of people, differences are frustrating to them. They can't get through the language barrier, the culture barrier.
Right.
And other people are so fascinated and interested. It's like adding spice to your meals, right? When you add new people from new places, and this show is starting to be like, hey, everybody throw in their cards and let's deal some new hands. And now the next step is don't even deal them, pick them. What's the hand you want? Take it, right? And I think that's so key. And we've got these people now. How do we leverage this and make this bigger? And that's why this thing is already on the planning boards for huge expansion. We learn from everyone if we're open to it. Kelly says we're all on this journey together. Why not make it awesome? All you got to do is say it. You know, they say name it, claim it, and be up to it, and it's yours, right? If you want to be the #1 marketing person in the world, say I'm the #1, but now do it, right? To justify it, to support it. Okay, we got the whole itinerary: Russia,
There you go.
Los Angeles, and Texas. Well, you're on the move. I went to Russia late, one of the most impactful trips of my life. So cool.
We were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah, and these shows bring things back to you that you wouldn't have thought of without somebody from Russia, right? You wouldn't have thought of the song from Urban Cowboy.
Yep.
And the past is so beautiful. And I even know about relationships, and it's hard always to be the better person, but I've had some major betrayals and situations with friends who weren't, were great friends until they weren't. But I said, if I was with somebody 25 years and it was the last year or two that were turned everything, it doesn't negate the 23 before it.
Correct.
Right? One good experience isn't going to cover a bad experience, and one bad experience shouldn't cloud the other, because everybody.
And you learn from those experiences. You have to learn from those experiences.
Yeah, and sometimes bad people, what it's called is just the way it is, and just that's it. Abimbola says, I used to think talking about one's vulnerability is not right, and because of that, and due to my shy nature, I just keep things to myself, bottled up inside, and get eaten up on the inside. However, now I've found that speaking out is really, I believe speaking out is something worth doing. Let's just say that. We're at the top of the hour. Luckily, it's Sunday. I'm very specific during the week because I know people have top of the hour situations. But as long as there's some comments, I'm happy, along with Christy, to address it. And really,
I want to comment on it, Embola's.
Okay.
Again, the word vulnerability, you're thinking, ooh, weakness. You have to speak your truth because it's yours. And people are not mind readers. So a lot of people who have gone through depression, and as myself as well, they don't share because they don't want to be vulnerable. They already feel, weak. Yet once they start sharing, you're going to have 2 types of people. I'm here for you. How can I help? Or sadly, you're going to be like, I don't know what to do with you. Got to go. And that's when you're going to find out who your people are. You're going to find out that even though you might be a strong person and those other people were like, I don't know what to do with you because you've always taken care of us. You need to cut those people out, or put them, I call it the dresser drawer of people. You had them at the top dresser. Now you can pull them down, or you put them underneath the bed, or you just put them out in trash. You put your relationships where they benefit your health. when you're speaking your truth and you're being authentic and being transparent. Because when you're authentic and transparent, nobody's, they're seeing who you are, and they're seeing your strength, that you're showing who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can tell that's sort of a conversation I'm very passionate about.
No, and I think it's a valuable conversation and getting more important all the time in the trials and tribulations people are going through in this day and age. And I also know people that as soon as you tell them something, what they're going to say, and a lot of them are going to say, "I told you so." You shouldn't. Everything is like in the past instead of, "Hey, the future," right? Pick yourself up. I'll be there for you, because people just want to know they're not alone.
Right.
Right? The hardest thing is being alone. If someone is there for you that you trust and you care about, and trust and care about you, that's the beginning. Start with the one building block, that one friend. And if you don't have a friend, make a friend. Find a friend, right? And when I had issues, I went to Toastmasters. I went to a lot of organizations just to get around people who shared a common interest and was very supportive. And I think that's part of the reason this show has come about, is because I would have loved a show like this 10, 20 years ago. I could have made a huge difference, and I could have made a huge difference. But what was and is different. It's what's going to be tomorrow. And the thing is, I think people need constant positive reinforcement to keep growing, right?
You also don't know who you might be saving. I mean, unfortunately, the suicide rates they're out there, and it's heartbreaking. But you don't know if your conversation might just change somebody's mind of the darkness that they're in,
Yeah,
allowing them to be vulnerable.
That's so true.
And knowing their strength.
Yeah, I remember when Kate Spade committed suicide.
Yep.
Right? And David Spade is her first cousin.
Yep.
And they asked him about it. And he said, "I'll tell you, I know Kate really well. If she would have had 5 more minutes, she would have never done that." But it was just in a moment of impulsive or passion or whatever it was. And I know, because I've been getting comments from people telling me that this made a huge difference, and those are the people who are telling me. There's other people experiencing it who don't tell you.
Right.
And just a little thing, the other day, I think it was Tara or Kelly or all of my guests, there was a moment where they cracked up. They really had a huge belly laugh, kind of. And I said, that alone was worth doing this show for. And if you can multiply that by 500 people every day who are now reaching out to people, you can't stop this, because it is so needed. It is so rare to find. And when you find it, it's not always done with the best of intentions.
Right.
There's an ulterior motive. There's a plan to it. And, I trust people to trust themselves. I give people credit for being intelligent enough to see things for themselves without having to be told.
That's a tough place to be, though. Sometimes when you're struggling, your trust is. I mean, I will. Again, I dance with my skeletons 3 times in my life. I thought about the checkouts, and it goes back to Christine with our parents. I remember my mom saying to me when I shared it with her, and she's like, "I don't know what to say," and she walked out the door because she didn't know what to say. Because I was always a strong person, and I held everything in. And I checked myself, and I'm like, something? You check out, you can't come back. You got to go through this.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do what you got to do, and you got to go through it. But I didn't trust myself, and I had to surround myself with people that I trusted that were going to allow me to be vulnerable. And right now, trust is not a strength of people, because their mental health is fragile. And it goes back to the job searching. They've been loyal to these companies for 15, 20 years. And unfortunately, it's business is business. And you're going to get laid off.
Mm-hmm.
But they were loyal. They were there all the time. So where's their trust? And then they get jerked around with, the job searching and the interviewing. And I mean, when I read that these people have to go through 8 interviews, and maybe it's just me and what I've done. I either got hired that day or the next day. If I was going to have 8 interviews, I'd be like, no, either you see me or you don't. I mean, and I tell people, remember, especially job seekers, they need you. They need you. That's why they have the job out there, to have that strength and be vulnerable and speak your truth and just. So yeah, so the mental health and being the trusting of other people, you have to feel that they're sincere. And unfortunately, there's so many people out there that aren't. They'll say all the right things, but then they'll just say, okay, well, now I want this from you.
Well, that's when I was running my company. One time I had 72 people under one roof with me, as employees, and then had contractors outside of them. Is no matter how big I got, I interviewed everybody before they started, no matter who they were, cashier, stock person, whatever it was, because that might have been the only chance I got to know them and they got to know me. Plus, when you interview enough people, when you negotiate with enough people, when you do business enough people, and you have millions of customers that you deal with all the time, you get to recognize people. And I did interviews that within 10 seconds, I knew this person was real. I mean, it's just, they looked me in the eye, they shared willingly. They didn't have to pause and think of the answer. And then I had people, it got to 5 interviews, and I said, this is just too tough, because at a certain point, everything made sense but something.
Right.
It's like, well, if you got $5 million in the bank, what do you need $10 an hour for? Or if you're the kind of person that believes in something, and because of that, you can be trusted, right? Whether it's a religion or something else, it's like, or I gotta talk to my husband about it. And I'm like, why don't you bring your husband to interview then? You could have saved a lot of time, and he could have asked questions to me. It's like, why blame that person for your inability to take responsibility or accountability? But that same thing applies to everything in life. The more open, the more honest, the more sincere, the better you'll be appreciated. Now, you could build yourself up and say, well, I got a little bit more there than maybe I should have, as far as buttering myself up with my resume or something. But at the end of the day, time will either expose you or promote you anyways.
Right.
And if you fool somebody to get in, you're going to have to keep fooling somebody to stay in. And do you want to be fooled, right? If you
be honest. Got to be honest. You want other people to be honest with you, just be honest with them.
That's right. And as you get older, honesty saves your memory.
Right? Absolutely.
You got to wonder who you lied to last about what, and eventually you'll forget it, and it'll pop out, and everybody will know it. And it's like, what did you just do that you didn't have to do?
Very true.
Here, I think I have a friend that might need your help, Christy. Well, that's great. And that's where you want to get referrals. You don't want to just on the block, I'm for sale, here's my money, here's what it'll take. It's like, no, you get an introduction, right? Get a reference. Every time you hire people, you want to check their references to a point, right? And if they're coming from Christine, they're going to be special. And not only that, because it came from Christine, you'll give that person something extra special. So Christine can say, yeah, you took care of that person the right way, whether you hired them or not, because an irate customer or a bad customer tells 7 people, a good customer tells 1 person.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's so important. Enthusiasm is contagious. Dean, we got to talk,
He's on a roll.
Ambimbola, I'd love to have you on the show. Anybody who supports needs support and should deserve and get support, because everything in life, I believe, should at least be based on fairness. It should be fair, and it should stay fair. And, one thing about my workplace, I told everybody, anybody disrespects anybody, it's going to be the end, and I don't care who they are. I don't care who you are. I want everybody coming here feeling safe and protected. and that's the way it is. And when you're in it, right, when you're around people, it makes all the difference. Kelly, amen to all we talked about today. I so agree, Christy, how I've been in situations where 6 interviews, IQ and personality tests, even a mock unpaid day in the field. Oh my God, when you know it's a gut decision if someone's going to fit with your culture. Well, the other thing is when you hire somebody, it ain't them. You got to come into it, right?
I always tell my clients, turn the interview on them. I remember when I was younger, getting jobs, I was Manhattan. When I was living in Manhattan, oh, do you have any questions? No, not at all. I mean, I was young and dumb. But now it's like, you interview me, I'm going to turn the interview on you because this is the place that I need to be. If I want to be here, I want to know who you are. Where do the people go? How's your culture? Especially since culture is so important right now. I worked for a company that I had a bully, and I'm a very tough person. It takes a lot to bring me down because I've worked so much. But this person was a bully. And it was to the point where I was having anxiety attacks at work. I mean, it was terrible. However, I reported the person to the ethics board and they did, nothing. And now after I've left, all these men, and one was my boss, have left the company because of this person. Yet the company still has that person still there. That's not a culture that you would want to go to. I mean, I can see a female having having an issue, but when you got men leaving because of another man, because of his thing, there's a culture issue right there, and you've got to fix that. But when the company doesn't care, they're just putting the people in and keeping that person in for whatever reasons. They're showing that they don't care.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but with business, they'll show that you care, but you have to also remember, you're just a number to make them money. Because in the end, something could happen and you could get laid off. The department could get laid off. So I always say you should always have your resume updated, even when you've got a job, because you never know when you need it.
And you're so right, because, being proactive, there's nothing wrong with, like you say, if someone's interviewing you, you can always say, why did you just say that? What does that really mean? Right. And what I found, a lot of people don't get jobs because the people who were interviewing weren't up to interviewing people.
Oh, absolutely.
People that were hiring were owners and whatever. But to Christy's last point, which is important, it's the culture, it's the leadership, right? I know in companies, and I had a few, you had some hotshot salespeople that were knocking it out of the park. And because of that, they thought they could get away with anything, right? They were just too valuable. And you can't pick one person over everyone, because once you do, it spoils the whole thing for everyone. And I got rid of those people as fast as I could, because they weren't giving people what they were expecting from people, and it was always unfair. And plus, people go to work. They're giving you the best part of the day. They wake up in the morning, they get dressed, they get ready, and they show up, and they're there for more time than they are with anybody in their family that day.
Absolutely.
And when they come home, their family has to deal with where they just came from in most cases.
Mm-hmm.
Is their happiness is your success. First of all, you're not going to get a lot of turnover. You're not going to get a lot of theft. What I learned about people, either you're going to learn about it before it happens or after it happens. The difference is, can they trust you to talk to you before, or is like, wait to get caught? And again, that's the culture you want to build. That's the culture you're going to have to enter every day. And that's why the nice thing about this is it's brand new. There's no legacy. There's no sacred cows. There's no people that are there and are never going to leave because of whatever. And it's totally unfair. When you start doing their work and they're getting paid twice as much and getting all the credit. I mean, that is so sick. Here's Manuel. LinkedIn probably is not a network to make friends, but it's a right network to do deep connections. What you are doing now is amazing. Connecting people in a deeper way. We have to be connected with you and between us to consolidate. You're so right. And people don't know there is deeper.
Yep.
Right? People stop at the second floor instead of going all the way to the top. And it's only through people say you can do that. And some people say, really? I can ask questions on an interview? I thought I was only there for them. Right? And there's nothing wrong with saying, can I talk to a few of your people before I take a position? Right? Let's hear what they got to say. And if someone says, no, you can't
talk. Look for the red flags. Listen to your red flags.
Yeah. I mean, if someone says, I don't want you to talk to people, but tomorrow you could be working with them,
right,
and talking with them. It's almost like, how desperate are you? How, because people test everybody. It's amazing how everybody who goes in for a raise and with a right reason usually gets it. And most people, unless you ask for it, you're never going to see nothing. Right? If no one, and the worst you can do, as long as you're respectful, is you'll learn your limits. Why not know them? And that gives you something to work with. Ambambola, I'm getting better with your name, more comments. This show is very enlightening and really inspiring. It's worth my time. It's worth your life.
Yep.
Your time here is to help you. And what I'd love to do is graduate people. I want people to come here and move forward and move on. It's like any institution. It's the successes you helped create or support that really build your legacy. If you want to be remembered for good things, help good people, and the good things will happen to you. As much as we want to make a difference, we can't always make a difference in an organization. Well, that's something, right? And, once they squeeze the humanity out of you, I mean, I always worked for myself, so I never had to worry about job security. I had to worry about business security. But I work with companies, I work with corporate people, and I saw how perverse so much of that was, how corrupt, how double standard it was. And I felt sorry for these people. A lot of them made good money, but they didn't live good lives. They lived compromised lives. And they got beaten down. And to Christy's point, eventually they got turned out. And I used to tell every sales rep, the only person you got to worry about is your customer. Don't go out of your way for the company, because the customer is going to make it all happen or not for you. And the people who took chances, who made investments in it, really got paid off because they showed they were with you instead of a competitor. And the competition is just unnecessary when you got open field like we got here.
That's where you get your recommendations, because once you show who you are as a person in sales or in any job, you can turn, and then you get let go or you leave because of the culture. And never diss another company. It'll be found out. Never burn that bridge. I mean, it will always be found out. But the recommendations, I mean, I'm huge about LinkedIn recommendations, because that's a third person's, view of you. For years, I used to have 3 pages worth of references. And I mean, some of these people were pretty top heavy people. Not once have I ever had an HR person call my references. In the 40 years I've worked, I've never had anybody call my references. However, my recommendations, I have somebody who, my last job, she, wrote it, and she's like, is that okay? And I'm like, but they're your words. And her comment was, Christy gets shit done. I'm like, because I do, but those were your words. And that's those kind of recommendations that people will come back and go, okay, this is who Christy is, or this is who Dawn is. I want to get to know them. I want them to be, help me, or be, part of my company, or consult with me. It's somebody else's, the third party referral reference is huge. You might have a resume, you might have a LinkedIn, but when somebody else comes in and says, this is the person you need to know, that's winning.
Well, and getting the visibility like this, people get to see you, and everybody starts thinking, because I know Gretchen. I mean, she works in one area, but she's got a whole board of like 30 people in different situations that if someone says, well, I need a brand manager. Well, I know somebody. I don't do it, but here's the person.
Right.
Right. And it took like a minute. And whether she gets any credit or benefit, she knows she did something for 2 people that couldn't have happened without her. You should have graduated ceremony. I hope to. I hope people can look at this and say a year from now or 2 years from now, I was there at the front end of this thing. And now it's here. And not only that, people not only can find a home here, there's going to be an opportunity here because as this thing expands, I'm already full up. The only way to get bigger is to backfill and get people into it because, like I say, it goes from viewing it, participating and commenting, co-hosting, hosting, and then branching out. And maybe that's enough. It's the world. You're talking YouTube, you're talking LinkedIn, you're talking all these things. It's enormous. And if you do it right, and it's like a hit show. If you appeal to people's taste and people's situation, it's a hit. And it only gets better. Kelly, we're going to lock it up in about 5 minutes. Don and Christy encourage and ignite growth in many. Personally, you two have made this girl shine even brighter, blessed. Well, everybody who shines makes everybody else's light brighter. And it doesn't matter where your light comes from. It's just that you surround yourself with light. And all of a sudden when you do that, the dark looks even darker that you've been experiencing. And the reason why people don't leave situations, they don't know how and they don't know where, right?
Exactly. And they're afraid. They're afraid.
And one of the positives and negatives about a show like this is some people will not be able to go back to things. Mm-hmm. People are working in a crummy workplace with crummy people, and they keep hearing people tell them about it. Not, the best way to teach somebody is share your experience, right? It's easier to say, I know where you're at, I've been there, and here's what happened, versus here's what you should do, because that puts somebody in a position to either say, okay, I'll do it, or I'm not going to do it, but I don't want to tell you I'm not going to do it. Right. I'll do it halfway, or compromise at the beginning is the worst place. You might have to do it towards the end, but that's not a good starting point. But, that's the beauty of Christy's experience and my experience. We paid a heavy price for it. Christy's right. When I was young, I was dumb. I believed about anything and everybody because I thought they knew. And that was my mistake. But it was because I didn't know any better. Right. Once you know better, you know better. Right? You can blame the first time on, hey, I didn't know. But the second time it's like you knew and you still went back there. You're hanging out with a person you can't stand, or you're working with somebody you can't stand. The biggest fear they say on Sunday night is people understanding they're going back to a job tomorrow that they hate, working Absolutely. For people they hate and hate them. Hate's a strong word, but their biggest fear is they'll lose it. Right? I mean, isn't that insane?
It's sad. People, and I've been there.
Well, at a certain point in your life, you say, somehow I've always eaten. Every day I found a way of getting through. Why would that change now? And the sooner you break free, I know it's not easy, but that's why having support is so important, is getting everything in place. If you're preparing for an expedition, you want to get all your supplies, you want to get everything there. So when you launch, you're confident you got what it takes. So anyways, unless there's some more, this is probably the longest one we've ever had. But
this has been fun.
Well, and it's been, and to your point, it hasn't been difficult. I encourage everybody to take advantage of this opportunity. Like I say, everybody has a chance. I'm willing to support anybody who wants to take a step forward, and things I know can change things really quickly. And that's really the thing I'm working on with this new groups is really best practices, protocol, and it could help so many people all at once, but it's going to take time because I'm going to do it with just a handful, 3 or 4 to start with, and see where it goes. But with that said, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoy your Super Bowl. Alex says,
Yeah, enjoy the commercials.
yeah, yeah, I'm probably going to go to Costco at 4:30 my time.
Me
Because
too.
it's been refreshing and inspirational. Thank you both. Thank you, Alex. It's been great. You know, you've made my Sunday. You got me ready for the week ahead. You know, rest up 23 hours from now, come back. You know, we'll do it again and again and again. And you can't help but help yourself by being out there with people who really love you. I know at a certain point there's a heart to people. You know, forget about their mind and their words. You know, what do they make you feel? Because that's the thing that you can count on, right? And I can't believe Kelly. I mean, I can go on and on. So, anyways, last words, Christy.
Everybody have a beautiful Sunday. And as always, I enjoy every day. I have it on my calendar. And I love all the comments. As I said, I love getting to know people and connecting with them and, helping out and being honest. I mean, this is a safe space. I just shared my skeletons with everybody. I mean, pretty much most people knew about it, but it's a safe space just to share life.
Yeah, but you know what? It also showed bravery, trust, you know, and it encouraged other people to do the same. It's healthy. It's like a catharsis, right?
Yep.
You know, is who wants to carry baggage? When you can unload it, share it. It makes it easier to carry. And then what you find is everybody's carrying the same type of baggage at different times or situations. Caroline, I can't thank you enough for coming. You know, you're a prime example of how this thing can grow. You know, one friend sharing with another friend, because that's who you want to share the best with, anyways. Kelly, love this. Have the most wonderful rest of your day. You also, I mean, it's a delight to see Kelly every day, and all these other wonderful people. I can't tell you how grateful. Don, you're amazing. Christy, you're great too. Thanks both, and best regards to all people connected for sure. Alex, great commenter. So, anyways, I'll say goodbye. Christy,
Bye,
it's been
everybody.
wonderful having you. And you know, everybody else there, tell a friend, share the post. You know, if this is good for you, it's good for people like you, and more people need this message, whether it's from us or anybody else. But let them know it exists. Like Christy says, this could be life changing and even life saving.
Yep.
You know, it's worth it. And if nothing else, your intention showed. Whether people do it or not, it's not important. But it also completes the circle then, right? Because then you can say, I received so much. How do I return so much? And me and Christy aren't looking for anything directly. Help the best people you know could use this. So anyways, with that, thank you very much. See you tomorrow, every day, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Bye for now.